Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, we are joined by award-winning three-time best-selling author, Katharine Giovanni. She is also one of the founders of the Concierge industry. So we're going to be talking to her about everything that she's up to and, how she got into the concierge industry and, everything that she's got upcoming and what we can be on the lookout for. So, Katharine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, the latest version of myself is I'm a forgiveness coach. And I have written a bunch of books, 12, I think. But I'm really here I retired from the independent concierge industry in 2020 and wrote a bunch of business books. And now I'm writing books to help people on their path. And my latest book is on forgiveness.
Well, two questions for you. The first one, what is it? What do you do as a forgiveness coach?
Well, everybody on the planet, your parents, your teachers, your pastor, everybody tells you that you need to forgive, which is fair. Nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to? What if it's an unforgivable thing that they've done to you? Then what do you do? So I figured out about a number of years ago with some friends of mine exactly how to forgive and the special sauce that everybody's forgetting. And I've come up with a step-by-step system that helps people forgive. But the trick is, everybody listening to this broadcast, including you, on a 10 scale, with 10 being an unforgivable dumpster fire and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, everybody, 10 out of 10 people, you're thinking of your unforgivable person. And at the end of the day, Curtis, that's why everybody has a problem forgiving, because they don't want to.
All right. Well, before we get into your books and writing and everything, talk about your experience in the concierge industry. For those who don't know what that industry is and what it does, let us know and tell us about your time into it and why you decided to make a pivot.
Well, a concierge will do, I used to say the yellow pages, but that's because I'm old. So a concierge will do anything on Google, shall we say. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, a concierge will do it. Now, this is an independent concierge. Everybody is used to a hotel concierge, which has been in the world for decades. But about 30 years ago, a group of hotel concierge thought, well, if I can do this in the hotel world, I bet I can bring it to mainstream America. And they did just that. When I came along, there was maybe 20 concierge companies in the United States, and they are your new personal assistant. They're like Uber delivers and Uber Eats, except they'll deliver anything. And when I came on, there was 20, and I was an independent. I was a meeting and event planner back in those days, and I just fell into it really by accident. I found this article in Entrepreneur magazine because there were no classes on this back then. It wasn't even an industry. And I realized that we were doing more concierge work than meeting planning, so I pivoted. And in those days, we had dial-up modems and computers that were the size of a Buick. And there really was no Google. So really, we got our company up and running, and don't ask me to do this again. But my husband looked at me, I've been married 33 years, and he said, well, you're very clever. You create a website. I had no idea how to do it. So I read the Microsoft Word help file, and I figured out how to do a website, and I got it online. And from then on, I got telephone calls from all over saying, could you just help me figure out what to charge? Could you just help me? I'd like to start this business. It looks great. So I was helping them out for free until I was asked that $1 million question, why are you doing it for free? And that's how the whole thing started. From there, I created an association, the first of its kind, because it was just a bunch of random people. And I thought, well, if I could just corral them into a group, we might be able to start something. And that's how it started. And I retired from the industry in 2020.
Okay, well, let's talk about your forgiveness method. Explain to listeners what it is and why do you feel like your method is different than anybody else's.
Well, my method is different because I have a method. I've yet to find really a step by step, do this, do this, do this out there. Before I go into the method, and I love sharing the method. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't, to be honest. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm giving in and saying, okay, you were right. I think that stems from our childhood when the teacher looks at everybody and says, okay, now forgive each other and go play. I think that's where it stems from, but it's wrong. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean you were right. You're still wrong. You're still probably a dumpster fire. Forgiveness, the formal definition to me, is I want you out of my head. Period. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I don't want to go into a bakery and smell a piece of cake and now all of a sudden I've got a memory about you. I want you out of my head. And that's what my system is designed to do. We also have been taught, well, you can forgive and forget. Okay. I live in the South now, but I'm originally from New York City, and your girl here, I'm not forgetting anything. Nobody can forget. We all remember the stuff. But the trick behind my system is you won't forget what happened, but using the method that I've come up with, it will neutralize the emotional reaction. So you won't care. You can go on Facebook or social media, or you can go to a party and see the person and you won't care. You won't think good. You won't think bad. You literally won't care. And that's what I'm looking for. That's the freedom I'm looking for, because now in your brain, now you can focus on music. You can focus on a money-making opportunity. You can focus on maybe your dream relationship just walked into the room. Why are you noticing these things now? Because you're not focused on the anger anymore and you are paying attention. You're paying attention to the world around you, and you weren't before because you were so focused on your anger. That's what this system will bring. That's what this system offers. It offers peace. But the special sauce to the whole thing is energy. Einstein proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just turns in from one thing to another. Music is a form of energy, and it just magically flows through the universe. Invisibly, if you will, through radio, through the computer. You and I are talking right now. That's energy. Everything on our planet has energy around it. And I have people coming to me all the time and saying, I did do the work and I have forgiven them. Yeah, you did. But they're not staying forgiven, are they? No, they keep coming up and I keep getting angry. Well, that's because you didn't forgive the energy around the person. And that's the secret. It's energy.
Well, speaking of that, is it even possible to forgive the unforgivable, or what people would consider as the unforgivable?
Yes and no. In my humble opinion, there are people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, that are unforgivable. And you don't have to forgive the darkest of the dark, the most unforgivable act. You don't have to. Because there are other things you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire, quite honestly. And everybody's level of pain is different. What you think is unforgivable, I might think, okay, well, I could probably forgive that. So everybody's different. But if you think it's truly, truly unforgivable, you don't have to forgive that person. What I do want you to do is I'm going to have you pick apart the memory. So the system is designed that on that 10 scale I talked about earlier, with 10 being unforgivable and 1 being easy, I want you to start with your number ones. I want you to start with the easy people. The person who took your toy in the sandbox when you were a kid. I'm not kidding. The person who cut you off on I-95 South. You can forgive that person. The person who stole your lunch from the company for refrigerator every day. Hope you can forgive this person. How about the person in the grocery store on aisle 4 who cut you off? Forgive that person. Do the easy ones first. Work your way up to the hard ones. And when you get to those unforgivable hard ones, and I have worksheets and all sorts of things in the book, but once you get the unforgivables, I want you to pick apart the memory. Remember, everything has energy around it. And the mantra I'm going to have you say is, I completely forgive Curtis. I forgive the energy around Curtis. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire thing. And I'm going to have you put your hand on your heart, because the words are just for us humans. It's the energy behind the words that has the power. And then I'm going to have you check in with your body. Is this person still a number 2, 3 level anger? Or did it go down to a 1? Or did it jump up to a 7? Now, why would it do that? Why are you more angry? Well, because the brain is a beautiful, wonderful healing tool, and it protects you. And it's looking at you saying, ooh, Curtis is ready. I'm going to open that back closet in his head. Yeah, he's ready. Let's do this. And you're going to be flooded with memories you didn't even know were there. But when it comes to your unforgivables, I want you to pick apart the memory. So let's use one of my own examples from my own life. Childhood bully. I was horribly bullied in school, come from a rough background, alcoholism, my parents, on and on and on it goes. Tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade. I mean, it was rough. But so I picked my childhood bully from grammar school. And I wasn't ready to forgive the bully because I wasn't. 60-something-year-old, I wasn't in my 60s. It was in my 50s when I did this. My 50-something-year-old woman thinking of something that happened in the early 70s. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yet I was. It was like a movie playing in the back of my head. I couldn't get to shut up. So I decided I'm going to pick apart the memory. So I couldn't forgive the bully. I couldn't even forgive the energy around the bully. So I forgave the school. I forgave the building where the school was. I forgave the energy around the building. I forgave the park. I forgave the table, the desk, the chair, the bed. I forgave the people that stood around in the playground who watched me be bullied, and the energy around all these things. My forgiveness system is kind of a marathon. It's not a sprint. But I was able to get that bully from a 10 down to a 9. And I still hadn't forgiven the actual bully. So the unforgivable people, they're a bear. They're hard. That's why I want you to save them for last. But if you do the easy ones first, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel freer and lighter. And the world's going to it's going to just feel better to you. And by the time you get to those unforgivables, you'll be prepared for them.
Do you have to forgive a person face to face to make your method work, or do you have to
Ah,
let them know?
I love this question. Okay, another thing that I am is I quit drinking 35 years ago. It was one of the only New Year's resolutions I actually ever kept. And when you go into AA and all these programs, they want you to do, I think it's a 4th step, and they want you to forgive. And your girl here, I was shy. I'm an extroverted introvert now because I've taught myself how to do it. But back then, I was shy as a church mouse. And so the thought of calling somebody up who would probably yell back at me just finished me. Didn't want to do it. The beauty of the system is forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. You do it for you. In the privacy of your own home, nobody has to know. You don't have to reach out to them if you don't want to. If you want to try and repair the relationship, knock yourself out. Works for me. But forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean repair. Forgiveness means I want you out of my head. So you don't have to call them. In fact, it doesn't matter where they are. You're doing it for you. You're not doing it for them. And that leads me to the thought you can forgive dead people. Why? Because it doesn't matter where they are. They're alive and well in your head. You can forgive them too. So I'm going to have you sit down and write a list of all the people you think you need to forgive, alive or dead. And then I'm going to have you rank them from 1 to 10. You could have 20 number 3s if you want to. I don't care. And you could skip a number. It's all good to me. And then I'm going to have you sit alone in a room and I want you to imagine the person that's in front of you. And then if you want to let them have it and say something, that's fine. And then I just want you to pretend that they left the room. And then check in with your body and see if you're still mad. Did that number 5 person go down to a 4? Did it jump? How do you feel? Most people feel movement in their body. A lot of people feel their shoulders get lighter. 8 out of 10 people get really tired, like really tired. So I really want everybody to do this before they go to bed. But please, please, please only do 10 at a time because you'll make yourself sick. I'm not kidding. You will literally make yourself sick if you do too many times because your body is going to have to transmute all that anger energy that it's been storing inside of you.
All right. Well, tell us about as many of your books as you would like. Tell us where we can get them and what we can expect when we read them.
Well, if you're interested in the concierge industry and you want to start a concierge business, you can go onto Amazon and go buy the concierge manual, which will tell you everything you need to know. I also wrote a book about my cancer journey. I'm a cancer survivor. So I'm a 12-year breast cancer survivor. So there's a book called Rainbows and Banana Peels that talks about that. I'm crazy. I write a lot of books. I also wrote a book called The Little Bird on Your Shoulder, which is one of my favorites, which teaches you how to tap into your intuition and have a conversation with it. That was fun. And my latest book is The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. That's available on Amazon. I also have the audio book available because I understand that not everybody likes to read. So the audio book, the ebook, and the paperback are all available for you.
Tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
Well, the forgiveness book is the first book of 3. The second book in the series, which I'm working on right now, is about how to forgive yourself. A lot of people, when they're writing their lists, their own name comes on the list, and it's usually a 10. It's usually unforgivable. So I'm writing a book dedicating on how to forgive yourself, and there'll be a chapter in there to, wait for it, how to forgive money. Money is energy. And a lot of people have a problem with it. So I'm going to have a chapter in there on how to forgive money to see if they can get that financial train started.
Well, so everybody can keep up with everything that you're up to, throw out your contact info.
Yeah, it's KatharineGiovanni.com. And thanks to my mother, my first name is spelled a little odd. Thanks, Mom. It's KATHARINE Giovanni.com. And everything's on there. And if you want to follow me, I have a newsletter, and you'll be, whenever the new books come out, I always blast my list. And I never sell my list. The list is just mine. Not to worry.
We'll close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
The only final thought I have is I just want people to know, and it's especially for the women listeners, you're worthy enough to lead a life of joy. You're worthy enough to lead a life of love. You were not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. You were not meant to live in lack and negativity and hate. You're better, that you were born for better things. And it's possible for you. And it's, even if you don't think you have anything to forgive, a lot of men will tell me that. They'll say, I don't have anybody to forgive. Okay. Do you like football? Yes. Okay. Well, did your football team lose last week? As a matter of fact, they did. Forgive the football team. You can forgive anything. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to do an awful lot for you. And you are worthy enough to live a life of peace and joy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, KatharineGiovanni.com. Go check out everything that she's up to. Check out that forgiveness method. We all need to exercise some kind of forgiveness method. So make sure you follow, rate, review, and share this to everybody you know. Jump on your favorite podcast app. Check out the show. Share it. Follow us. Leave us a review. If you have any guest or suggestion topics, Curtis Jackson 1978 at att.net is the place to send them. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Katherine, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.